वेळा उतरा तुमच्या गॅसचं बर्नर असेल त्याच्यावर तडतड वाजली तर दृष्टी जाण्याचं काय ते दुपारी आपण काय करू ते कागदाचं करू रेस काढल्या कागदाचं करू ते परातीमध्ये खरकट पाणी घ्यायचं 7 वेळा कागदाचं वाजलं दृष्टी झाली
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome, parents. We're excited to host day 3 of the Learning Conclave for Parents, a series specifically to empower parents on their parenting journey with a lot of topics related to parenting, children's behavior, learning, early development, and so on. And we're so excited to see all of you all asking questions and being empowered in the process. Today is day 3 and we're taking up a very crucial topic, which is the topic of developmental of writing skills. I'm so delighted as the founder CEO of Intelligence Plus to celebrate the 10th year of our anniversary with this whole series. We're also streaming it live on YouTube in case after the session you want to share it with some of your friends. We'll be more than happy to have them share and gain access to the knowledge that our speaker for today is going to be speaking on. And so without further ado, I would like to welcome our speaker for today, Mrs. Preeti Vaishnavi. Thank you so much for joining us today. To introduce her quickly, she is the director of Shishu and Preschool. She's an early childhood educator and a certified parenting coach. She has been a parent guide to more than 500 plus young parents. She's graduated from Delhi University in Economics and Masters in Management from Mumbai University. She speaks widely on the topic of parenting and early learning. And we're so grateful to have her today with us to talk about writing skills, one of the most critical and, so to say, a pain point that every parent deals with at some point. So thank you so much, and over to you to hear your insights and have your guidance on how to develop writing skills in children. We'll hear her and then we'll open it up for questions in the last 15-20 minutes. Thank you so much. Over to you, Preeti ma'am.
Okay, thanks a lot, Pranjal, and it's thanks a lot for having me here on your as part of your Learning Conclave. It's a pleasure to be speaking to all the lovely parents out there. And so I've been asked to give my inputs on how to develop writing skills in children. And in addition to developing writing skills, there are a majority of parents, who face a problem with children not wanting to write. And that is also something I would be addressing during the course of my conversation here with you guys today. And for that purpose, we have some audience here with us in this session. And I would want all of you to write in the chat box the age of your child so that I get an idea on the kind of audience I'm talking to you right now. Can you guys write me the age of your child? What is I don't know whether I can come, no, yeah, 6 years. Okay, 7 years. Okay. 7 years. 3 years. Absolutely. Okay. 7 years. Okay. Fine. So, for the purpose of, understanding the very concept of writing and how children develop it, we'll try and speak across the age group of 2 years to 10 years, right? That's the primary age group in which there is an issue that parents face with respect to skill of writing, right? And we'll further divide this entire age group into 2 to 5 years and 5 to 10 years, because parents face different challenge in both these age groups. So we have some people who have their children in the age group 3 years, 4 years, and then there are some of you who have 6, 7, 8 years. So we'll try and cater to both the age groups. And for this purpose, what I would want you to do is, if possible at all, just take a pencil and a paper and jot down any point which you feel you need to act on, like say tomorrow, Otherwise, what will happen is that I'll speak, you will listen, thinking you will remember, but ultimately nothing's going to be there. There's no action that you're going to take like from tomorrow, right? So, and the very purpose of speaking to you right now is that I would want each one of you to take some action on the present problem that you're having with your child with respect to the skill of writing, right? So keep a pen and a paper ready and write down any action point that you would possibly be taking, let's say, after this workshop finishes, right? So now to begin with, let us first understand how does the entire process of writing happen with kids, right? Now I'm going to talk about primarily 5 factors which determine this entire skill of writing, right from 2 years to 10 years. Now, let's say from age 2 years to 5 years, children are still learning to write, and in this particular age group, what we really need to focus on now, on a physiological level, the muscles of our body, which are instrumental in the entire writing skill, are two sets of muscles are very, very important for the writing skill. So if these muscles are strong, then your writing skill is strong. If any of you have any information on the muscle set that I'm talking about, you can write in the chat so that I know how much of an understanding you already have, because a couple of you already have kids 6 years, 7 years. So some kind of understanding probably at your end might be existing. So what are those muscles which you feel? Try and assess it. What are those muscles that you feel a child primarily uses in the process of writing? Yeah, palm and eyes. Can I see your beautiful faces, if you don't mind? That way you feel, you're talking to individuals rather than blank screen, right? Great. Anybody else? Anybody has any input on that? The muscles which you feel are used in the process of writing. Because see, till the time you don't know the muscles, then how will you build on them for a child to, number one, start writing, or to write better, or to write long enough, So you need to know that, right? So first set of muscles that are very, very instrumental in child's writing skill are your finger muscles, right? Which are also known as, are a part of fine motor muscles. That's a very, very important set of muscle that you need to focus on. Now, if your child is young and is in the process of picking up the skill of writing, that means if your child is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years as well. So there is a fair amount of work that you need to do as a parent on these muscles. So if you go on a YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, or any other YouTube channel, you will find lots of exercises which are targeted towards building up of these muscles. Very simple logic. If these muscles are strong, your child's going to write better. His hold on the pencil is going to be better. On pen is going to be better. So more and more of these activities you do when the child is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, accordingly, the neural connection in the brain is formed. So whenever you move a muscle, there is a certain kind of brain cell which is at work, right? So more you use these muscles, accordingly, those brain cells get formed in the mind, in the brain of the child. So if you use more of these muscles, more of those brain cells get formed. I'm speaking a very layman's language so that you understand. More of those brain cells are going to form, and your child eventually is going to write better when he gets older, and so on and so forth. So if your child is less than 5, you need to focus on doing a lot of these activities, and even older ones, even older parents need to check whether the child has good enough command on these muscles. Now, what is the way to check? Is he able to button his shirt well? Let us say, for example, your child 7 years of age. Is he able to button his shirt up? Is he able to tie his laces? Is he able to eat properly with spoon, or he's spilling here and there? So these are certain indicators which tell you whether your child has a good enough command on this set of muscle. If no, then you need to do the exercises. There is enough information available on internet on various finger muscles, movements that you can undertake with your child. You can get in touch with your child's educator in case you feel at loss how to develop these muscles in respective schools in which your child is going. They can guide you on that. So your first set of muscle is your fine motor muscle, right? And you guys need to check on that. Number two, second set of muscle, which is at work and which most of the parents do not give due attention to, or they tend to ignore, are your gross motor muscles. Now, these gross motor muscles are the large muscles of your body, your back, your torso, your legs. Because see, writing is an activity which you undertake in a specific posture. You know, you sit on the chair and you bend a little forward and then you take a pen and then you write. Now, children are required to maintain this posture when they're writing. Having said that, if your child's gross motor muscles are not strong enough, then what would essentially happen is that they will take a pen, they will start writing, but within 3-4 minutes, they would start feeling tired. And then they will find one or the other reason to sneak out of that activity, right? Because their muscles are getting tired, or let's say their finger muscles are getting tired, their back muscles are getting tired, their shoulders are getting tired. Now, children per se, when they're young, they do not know how to say, oh, mama, my shoulders are getting tired. They will just feel a little bit of strain here and there, and they will just leave the activity and run off. So another set of muscles that you need to build upon is gross motor muscles. Now, how do we build that? Now, build-up of gross motor muscle has lots of other benefits as well. And these muscles can be built up by spending about 1.5 to 2 hours in playing physical activity, unstructured physical activity. I'm not expecting you to enroll your children in tennis or in karate or in judo, and then from tomorrow writing will be all right. No, just plain simple activities will also do, like running in the park, hanging from the jungle gym, general play. Just child needs to be very, very active, so all these muscles then eventually get built up. You have to build this gross motor exercise time in their schedule, let's say in the evening for 1 hour, 1.5 hours. So just ensure that your child's muscles are getting exercised enough. It's going to help them in this basic activity of writing. It is also going to help generally in their development on a physical, emotional, and a mental level. So gross motor exercise on a regular basis is very, very important. And this is something that normally parents are not aware of, right? So you need to do this as well. Now, the third is your eye-hand coordination. How well developed is your eye-hand coordination? Now, I am sure a lot of you who are watching this show or who are attending here, if your child is less than 5, I don't know how many of you are aware, but most of our brain gets developed. About 95 to 96% of our brain gets developed by the time you're 5 years of age, right? And by that time, the way you want your brain cells to develop, your child's brain cells to develop, you can accordingly take it ahead, So if you want your child's eye-hand coordination to be good, so you need to undertake activities accordingly, right? Once again, enough of activities are there on internet. You can just go there, figure out, and do these activities on a regular basis in a conscious manner. Now, what are those activities? Let us say, for example, fine motor, or for eye-hand coordination, simple activities, scribbling, coloring, right? Playing with dough, take a chalk, let the child scribble, So lots of paper tearing, lots of activities are there. So you could do that. Now, older ones also should focus on eye-hand coordination in case the parents feel that it is not as developed in my child. Now, when it comes to older kids, now let's say 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. Now, fine motor is good enough. Child's playing every day for 1.5 to 2 hours. So you as a parent feel that, oh, it's good with his gross motor as well. You feel he's got good eye-hand coordination, but he doesn't sit enough. He lacks focus and he lacks concentration, right? A lot of you have this issue that, my child doesn't sit for long enough. He doesn't finish his page. So a lot of parents tell me, I ask my child to write a page. He just writes 3 lines, 4 lines, and then he just runs off and goes here and there and whatever, right? So if the child's really young, like 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, one thing that I would want to point out here is that our expectation that a child is going to sit at one place for 20-25 minutes somewhere is also not as realistic, right? So if you feel that your child is not sitting at a place for 25 minutes, then you can just make him write 2 lines and then send him voluntarily for a break. Why don't you just go and do something and then come back and then we'll do it? Because their body needs break. The way they are, because they are in this phase of exploring. So they have this innate desire to look around what is happening here and there and everywhere, because they're curious. That is how their brain's working right now, so they're excited to know. So if you're making them sit in one room on a table and expecting them to write for half an hour, somewhere it is going against their natural instinct in many cases. Now, so that is also something that you need to take care of. So give them frequent breaks. Let them write 2-3 lines and let them take a break and come back. Now, that is one thing, that there's a natural urge to, to explore around. And for that, you need to give them frequent breaks. But there is also in many kids a basic problem of focus and concentration. There is a problem, and it is increasingly being seen nowadays. And one of the major reasons for that is exposure to screen time. Now, I would want all of you to write in the chat box a number of hours your child is doing screen time. I'm waiting for your response, and then I'll take this ahead. I would want all of you to write down what is the number of hours your child is. 30, 45 minutes, 1 hour, 30, 40 minutes. Okay. 1 hour. So primarily around 40 to 1 hour. So 1 hour is something that you feel, that you think that your child is doing e-screen. Now, here is what I have to tell you with respect to e-screen. Now, with respect to e-screen, you need to be very mindful of the kind of content your child is seeing, right? Even on TV, let it be television. I don't know whether this e-screen time includes TV time or not, but as per the guidelines, when you say screen time, it should be inclusive of the time the child spends on mobile, tab, and TV, right? So many a times in many sessions, when I ask how much time does your child spend on screen, they just give me the time that the child spends on mobile. Somewhere TV is conveniently forgotten about, or the mealtime TV is forgotten about, So when I say 1 hour, 1 hour should be including your TV, your mobile, your tab, and everything, so on and so forth, right? So having said that, we need to be very careful of the kind of content that your child is watching on these screens. Because if the content that the child is watching is getting the child very agitated or excited because of whatever reason, probably he's playing a kind of a game which is getting him excited, or probably the kind of content that he's watching is getting him excited, whatever is the purpose, you need to bring down on the kind of content that the child is watching. Why? Number one, all us adults have from time to time been recommended meditation sessions, right? So whenever we are not able to handle things around, whenever we as parents and adults get very agitated, so there are many people who say, oh, why don't you try meditation? Don't they say? They say, why don't you try meditation for 10 minutes in the morning and then your entire day is going to go well. So we are suggested by many people like that, right? And why is that suggestion given to us? How does a 10-minute meditation session in the morning, how is it going to help me through the day? Now, here is the science behind it. So when we meditate in the morning, there is a certain kind of brain waves that get generated in our brains, which are known as alpha waves. Now, and any kind of wave that gets generated in our body tends to remain there for the next 5-6 hours, which essentially is the rest of the day, right? So if you meditate in the morning, so these relaxing and calming waves tend to remain in our system through the day, and it helps us to remain calm. Now, our child is watching a very agitated content on the screen. Now, there are certain brain waves that get generated, which are known as beta waves. Okay. Now, these beta waves are associated with active thought, fast thought, right? And these waves also stay in our system for the next 5-6 hours. Or to put in other words, stay in your child's system for 5-6 hours. And the point to note here is that writing per se is a calming activity, isn't it? It's a calming activity. Your child has to sit down silently, take a pencil and write. So it's a calming activity. So even if your child has done any kind of e-screen content, agitated content viewing in the morning at 10 or 11 or 12:31 when he comes back from school, his brain is still having those waves, those beta waves when you sit with him for writing at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, right? So if you give your child a very calming activity to do at 4 or 4:30 or 5, his brain per se is going to reject that activity because it is still having those waves which are associated with very active, fast thought and learning. So he is essentially not going to enjoy that activity, right? So am I clear in my association how agitated content, even if the child is watching in the morning, essentially will hamper his concentration, his focus, his, the calmness within him, even 4 to 5, 6, 7 years after. Because many parents tell me, oh, he watches in the morning, but even in the evening, he's very agitated because the waves stay on in our system for as long as possible, right? So that is something that you have to be very mindful about, the kind of content he's watching. Agitated content essentially would be, see, one kind of content which your child should not be watching or should not be doing is your games, 3D games, right? Because where your brain has to, use some visual reflexes. So that's one content that is totally not accepted for children less than 12 years. Gaming content should not be provided to your child. 2D games are okay, but 3D games should essentially, Temple Run is a content that your child should not be doing, such kind of content. And then any content, which you feel is just getting your child a bit agitated, is getting your child a bit aggressive. That is for you to figure out whether you feel the content is agitating enough or not, whether it will play with something in his mind or not. That's for you to decide. But essentially, that's the kind of effect it has on the child's brain. Now, how do we do that? Now, how do we manage the focus and concentration of the child, right? Now, number one is, again, manage the content of your child, the kind of content he's doing on e-screen. Number two, what I strongly recommend to parents is to have a daily schedule in their life. So let's say, for example, the child comes back from school at 12:31, 2:33, wherever the child comes back. So there should be a schedule. 2:33, the child comes back. He has his food. He does some reading, probably sleeps for an hour, gets up, does some tabletop play, whatever the schedule is. And then he goes down to park. And after coming back from park, he and me sit together and we do some writing, And this is the kind of schedule that you should essentially follow every day. This is just a sample schedule. Each of you can have a schedule of your own. But the same schedule should be followed every day, because that way the child also preempts that, okay, fine. After I come back from park, I will be required to sit and do whatever I have to do, probably sit and study or read or write or whatever it is. So the child also knows. So in the initial, if you're not able to follow a schedule right now, then it will take you 5, 6, 7 days, your persistence as a parent to have a schedule. But once the schedule is made, then you will see how children very nicely follow from one step to another, because they know what is going to follow what. With older kids, let's say 7, 8 years of age, you can actually sit with the child and make a schedule, because older kids, it is very important for us to get their consent. Smaller ones, we can make the schedule for them, right? But older ones, you have to make them sit with a pen and a paper and ask them, okay, now I would want you to do half an hour of this and that and everything. Now, when do you think we should do? So make them a partner into it. Now, and follow this schedule. I mean, this schedule does not need to be etched in black and white, but, but more or less, you need to make your child a partner to it. And that way, the child starts preempting. And the resistance subsequently to an activity like that does not really come in as aggressively. Right. So now we spoke about your fine motor muscles that you need to check on, probably need to build on that. Then gross motor, something that you need to figure out, back muscles, whether they are strong enough or not. Your eye-hand coordination, is it working well with your child? Focus and concentration needs to be checked upon. How do we build focus and concentration in the child? Content needs to be viewed. Or, a schedule is not there, so he does not really know what is going to follow what, and essentially, he does not really want to agree to whatever you have to say. So when I say he does not want to agree to what you have to say as a parent, brings us to another very, very important point is when parents face challenge with writing of their child. And the basic reason for that is not that the child does not have the ability to write, does not have the, the basic skill to write. He just does not want to write, right? He just does not want to do that particular activity. Now, in that particular context, the problem primarily is not in writing, because you have solved your basics when it comes to writing, right? The problem is with the behavior of the child. So there you do not have to really focus as much on writing. You have to focus on behavior. How do I recondition my child's behavior so that he listens to me when I tell him, darling, you're supposed to write or you're supposed to read, right? So this essentially is a behavior problem rather than a writing problem. Now, all of you as a parent need to understand, need to figure out where the problem with your child is. Is it because he lacks the basic skill? The muscle is not strong enough? The concentration is not there? Or is there a behavioral challenge that we are facing with the child? Now, when it comes to behavior, the basic problem that parents face is that I tell him to do something and he's not listening to me. Right? That's the basic problem. I'm telling him something and he's not listening to me. Now, when the problem is that he is not listening to me, you need to ask yourself a very basic question. My child's not listening to me. So what is the kind of relationship I have with my child? And the basic parameter to understand whether your child has a good relationship with you or not is to figure out whether your child loves spending time with you, or is he the one who is just looking at ways of escaping here and there and everywhere? Do you guys sit together and have fun moments? It's easily done with kids who are younger, 5 years, 6 years, 4 years. They enjoy spending time with mama, but over a period of time, when the child is 7, 8, 9, they do not really enjoy spending time with their parents. And that is when they do not want to, listen to what their parents have to say. Now, when it comes to listening, many children stop listening to their parents because parents are not listening to them. So one of the best ways of improving your relationship with your child so that your child listens to whatever you have to tell is to spend time listening to what he has to say. So I won't take much time. I can't dwell on this topic for long. I'll just give you one simple pointer to build on your relationship with your child so that he loves spending time with you. Is on an everyday basis, spend 35 to 40 minutes with your child, not reading, not writing, but just doing stuff which is fun, doing stuff that your child wants to do, doing stuff that listening to stuff that your child has to tell you. He wants to tell you about his football match. He wants to tell you about, things like, for example, the latest animation that he saw. Listen to it, sit and listen. Even if he's not talking to you in initial days, at least be there so that tomorrow if he has something to tell you, he can tell you. If he's not talking much, he's not a very verbose child, then nothing to worry. You can just sit and do some activities, whatever activity he loves. He loves to play cards with him. Whatever, journal, he loves to play with clay. But this is the time, 35-40 minutes. You have to take care that you're not guiding, you're not advising, you're not counseling the child, because you know what, our children are sick of advice, guidance, and counseling that we as parents are continuously doing. We don't realize, we don't realize, but we are forever telling them, don't do this, don't do that. This is not good, this is not, which is something that you have to do as a parent. I mean, which is very, very important. But, this 40 minutes, we just need to abstain ourselves from that and just speak to them about things that are fun. So when you speak to them and listen to their stuff, they start enjoying and spending time with you. And if they start enjoying spending time with you, they will start subsequently listening to you a little bit, right? Now, this is my small little take on how to improve your relationship with your child. Do a check whether your child enjoys spending time with you, and if no, then you can do some action on that, right? If you're very busy, then at least 25 minutes is something dedicatedly you should take out and spend time doing fun things with your child. Now, what are those various other aspects that you can do, things that you can do to build this writing in your schedule? Now, there are various activities that you can take up with your child in this fun time that I spoke about, which are related to writing specifically. Instead of giving your child a page to write, what you can do is that you can get, those fun books where you are required to search for words and circle, join the dots and make a fun character. So activities surrounding writing. Idea is all these activities should be made fun, but at the same time should involve your child to sit and do writing. Writing, probably circling the words, probably joining the dots, probably writing a letter to you. Now, let us say, for example, your child wants you to buy this, let's say a set of a figurine, or let's say a dollhouse for her, right? So you can ask her, why don't you write a letter to me asking me to buy this dollhouse for you? And if you do that, I'm going to buy that dollhouse for you, So associate whatever the child wants to do with this, with the activity of writing. So this is how it can be done. With older kids also, what you can encourage them to do is do a little bit of journaling. What did they do through the day? Make a format for them and then they can fill it. You have these slam books. So you can encourage them to fill those slam books. So any activity which involves them to write. Then, with younger ones, you can actually use different materials. A lot of pre-writing activities need to be done before you actually hand over a crayon or a pen or a pencil to them. You can give them chalk to write on a slate, or you can get them to use their fingers in paint to write something. You can do a lot of rice play. You can do a lot of, playing with sand is also something that can be done. So a lot of these activities can be done. And so basic idea being that your child should enjoy the entire process of writing. With smaller kids, you need to focus more on pre-writing skills, which is your tracing, your scribbling, your, playing with dough. And with older ones, it is a mix of focusing on building their concentration, focusing on building their gross motor, because that is also one aspect which comes up again and again in front of me with older kids, with sedentary lifestyle or with COVID, with children not being able to go out to play a lot. So their gross motor, their torso muscles suffered a lot. They get spasms in their lower back when they sit and they write. So older kids need to check on that as well. And including writing in their day-to-day schedule. As I've already told you that you need to have a schedule and in which you need to have a time for writing. The way I told you that you need to build a schedule and have a fun time with your child, similarly, there should be a time dedicated to sit down activities. Now make a corner in your house where the child sits and does some activity. Now, in the beginning stages, when you're trying to build this schedule, Day one, don't give the child to write something. Day one, he can sit on this table and chair and do some fun things that he loves to do, probably build on Legos or probably solve some puzzle. But every day, get him to sit on that table and do whatever he has to do. So sit down time has to increase, right? So build that thing in your for about 4-5 days. The child can do these fun activities in his sitting corner or whenever he has a sit down time. And then the 8th and the 9th day, you can introduce some fun writing activity on the table. And then 11th, 12th, and 13th day, then you can subsequently get in some writing activities from here and there, and subsequently then take it ahead. So this is more or less about building writing skills. If you have any specific questions, you can ask me. Anybody having any specific questions?
Preeti ma'am, I want to ask that when should we concentrate on improvement of their writing also while we are doing these activities, or it has to be just writing like a play?
How old
Having
is
a
your
play,
child?
7.
See, you need to first understand that if the handwriting is not good, it can also be because his muscles are not strong enough.
Okay.
And the coordination in the brain is not as well developed when it comes to writing. See, anybody who has good control on these muscles, handwriting is going to be good. If handwriting is not good, it essentially means the muscle control is not as well developed as it should be.
Okay.
Right? So even when you do these activities and build on a child's fine motor muscles, it is essentially going to have an effect on writing as well. So obviously you have to guide the child to write properly and cleanly, but at the same time, do certain fun activities which involve these muscles as well. And that is something that's going to benefit your child.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Ma'am, we have a question in the DM. My daughter writes a little slow. What can we do? What can be done?
How old is the daughter? How old the daughter would be? I'm not able to see. How old is the daughter? 7. See, writing slow again can be because of many reasons. She's not enjoying that activity, right? She's slow. Is she slow generally, or is writing the only activity in which she's slow?
Ma'am, she's not very slow, but in general also she's slow in doing her things, in eating. Like overall, she's little slower, like not very slow, but little slow.
Or probably she's not as fast as you want her to be.
Yeah, compared to like I don't want to compare, but I want her to like at least complete her notes in school.
Okay. Okay, so she's not completing her notes in school is what you are.
At times she if I tell her to like pre-hand, if I tell her that you just complete your notes and then you come home, like, so then if she's alert, she'll start writing fast and she'll complete. But if I don't, then she's in a dream world and she doesn't write fast.
So here the problem is not about writing, because if she wants, then she is writing fast, right? So the problem primarily is related to the behavior aspect, which you need to recondition. As I told you, that you need to, I don't know whether you're spending a fair amount of time talking to her.
Ma'am, I do spend time with her.
So you, during that time, you ask her, why don't you write fast? And another thing that you can try, see, one strategy that really works well with kids is the appreciation strategy, right? So wait for a day when she wants something really bad, you know, let's say, for example, she wants a candy bar, for example, and that day you tell her, give her an easy task to do. Like, you know, don't tell her finish this page and I'll give you a candy bar. No, Tell her, you finish these 4 lines and I'll give you a candy bar. Okay? Give her an easy task to do. So she finishes that 4 lines and you give her a candy bar and make a big hue and cry about the fact that, you know what, she finished 4 lines in so quickly and she was able to do it. Your husband comes back in the evening, tell him that, tell neighbors, tell everybody in the family that, you know, that she did so well and she wrote so well and she finished her 4 lines in no time and everything and all of that, and love her. And in your fun time also, you can tell her, I'm so proud of you that you finished your 4 lines and everything and all of that. Then the next day, after a couple of days, then tell her, above 5 lines karna, above 6 lines karna. Then every time you don't have to give her candy bar, you can probably give her a star or something like that, you know, and then generally just appreciate her, because right now I'm sure if she's slow, you will be saying this a lot to her that abhi jaldi karo, why don't you do quickly?
Yes,
Oh, you're
that
so
happens.
slow. So that happens, you know, so that will drive your child to be slower and slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So,
every day morning, I have to, you know, run behind her. Avdhi, ye karo, wo karo, wo
so a
karo.
lot
Like,
of shouting, screaming happening in the house. So, so what you really need to do is the day she does any one activity, you can set up an easy activity, or generally also, you know, what happens is that, you know, Dr. Pooja, that in our normal lives, whenever a child does something good, we do not tend to appreciate, not consciously. Obviously, we as parents are very proud of our kids and we want to appreciate. It's just that, you know, the day she will not brush her teeth quickly, we will create a lot of, you know, there'll be a lot of shouting and screaming, bus miss ho jayega, jaldi karo, why are you not brushing your teeth and all of that. But the day she will brush her teeth, you will just silently think to yourself, thank God she did it today, and you will pull her to the next task.
yeah.
Right? So the day she does her brush quickly, that is the day you have to catch and tell her, oh, today you did your brush very quickly. So catch, so especially if you have a child which you are facing a problem that she's slow, specifically catch her doing good things or proper things. And you will
Okay.
see a difference in the attitude. I had a child like that last year as well. So you will see a difference, definitely. But you will have to catch a child doing good.
Okay, ma'am. I'll definitely try this, ma'am.
Hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other parent? So how many of you have kids who with whom you're facing challenge in terms of getting them to sit? Getting them to sit for the activity. Komal, how old is your child? You know, why I'm asking this is, you know, sometimes we need to kind of scale down our expectations as well. 5. Okay. Can you be slightly more specific in what is the exact kind of challenge you're facing? Yeah. So, yeah, Shamita. So see, she listens if I allow her playtime. You know, what happens with kids is that many a times, you know, we tend to get into a power struggle. You know, you listen to me. First, you listen to me, then I will listen to you. I'm your parent. I know better. You know, many times you tend to get into this power struggle with them. But you know what? Kids are going to be kids. And we as parents need to be smart and intelligent while dealing with them, number 1. And number 3 that we need to be, in addition to being smart and intelligent, is that we need to be empathetic, right? Now, as I said earlier as well, that when your child is small, 3, 4, 5 years of age, they tend to be exploratory in nature. They will not sit at one time for 20 minutes or 25 minutes, 15 minutes. Now, let's say your child is not sitting down even for 5 minutes. Give yourself baby steps. Let your child sit for 2 minutes, then ask your child, go get me something. Then let your child sit for 2 minutes, probably do something interesting with the child, and then let your child leave. Slowly and slowly build that up, because they have that desire in them to look around and explore. They are wanting to go here and there to see what is happening here and what is happening there. So if we are wanting them to sit at one place, somewhere we will have to channelize their desire, right? So that is what we have to do. So initially, let them sit for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Let's say your child sits for 5 minutes, then allow a break. Then let your child sit for 5 minutes, then allow a break. And slowly and steadily build it to 6 minutes, then build it to 7 minutes. Now, in many cases, what happens is that if a child is sitting and writing, now till the time the child doesn't say, oh, mama, I am tired, let me go, you don't let the child go. So what am I expecting you to do is that by watch, even if your child doesn't say or does say, let the child go and tell him, why don't you take a walk and come back? And then we will do the next line. Now, again, after 5 minutes, ask the child to go, take a round and come back. And this holds true mostly for smaller kids, not older kids. For smaller kids is what I'm trying to tell you. 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. Let them have breaks in between. For older kids, you need to figure out, or you need to work on lots of behavioral aspects, concentration aspects, focus aspects before you actually get them to do their entire writing activity. Any other question?
Wonderful. I think it was such a great session. So many questions answered. Thank you so much, Preeti ma'am. It was wonderful. I've been listening to all the conversations, the ideas, and I really liked how you holistically explained the whole connections from screen time to gross motor development of hands, and then to, the nitty-gritties of fine motor development, because a lot of times we as parents don't see the holistic connection between writing and behavioral related to writing and gross development and so on. So thank you so much. It was a wonderful session to have you with us here today. I'm sure parents will agree. Of course, parents can go ahead and share some learnings from your session here today so that she knows and can take it back home, and we can send us some screenshots of the messages.
Yeah, I would definitely want all the parents, as I told in the beginning of the session, that I would want all of you to write down your own action points, because you are here today listening to this session. It essentially means that you're facing a challenge with respect to writing of, the skill of writing with your child. So I would want you to drop in a liner or two on what is the action that you'll be taking, let's say from tomorrow, when it comes to the writing skill of your child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So go ahead, parents, share them in the chat. We are right here. And of course, you can definitely write how you love the session, like. And you could check out more of her work on her Instagram page, which is called Parenting with Preeti. You can find so many of her lovely videos there. So on that note, thank you so much, Preeti ma'am. It was wonderful having you here. As an educator, I think it's a brilliant platform to just collaborate together to spread more awareness and perspectives on the issues that really bother parents so much and help them in their parenting journey. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much once again. We can see.
It's a pleasure, Pranjal. Thanks for having me over. Thank you.
Thank you. I've shared the Instagram handle in the WhatsApp groups as well. You can find it in our Instagram post as well. And you could check out her work. Thank you so much, parents.
Thank you. Bye-bye.